are slow.
We are.
I think you're too close to West Virginia.
Okay, here we go. We're live, fellas. It is Wednesday night. Team Certainty and Power Network prospective new member Google Hangout tonight. Thank you, viewers, for checking in with us tonight. I'm actually traveling. I'm not in my regular digs, as you can see. Tonight I have with me Mr. Iron Dane Richards and Mr. Gary Smith. How you doing, fellas?
Good, hey, everybody.
Okay, good. And again, this is the Wednesday night, hour-long Team Certainty Empower Network Google Hangout for prospective new members. I'd like to welcome all the viewers. You know, if you're watching this live or on replay, wherever you are in the world, thank you for taking the time to watch us tonight. We do these Google Hangouts. I say this every time. We do these Google Hangouts twice a week. We do them Wednesday night, this time period, from 8 to 9 Central Time here in the United States, and also from 11 to 11:30 Central Time Saturday mornings. The Saturday mornings are designed for questions and answers, period, and it's a little bit more casual, but the support button over here on the top right of your broadcast page, if you just click that tab, a box will open up. You can type in a question about anything about Empower Network, Team Certainty, soon to be iPas2. You know, as soon as it launches, I got a little update from Chris on that as well, and it goes to support. Support will answer your question for you, and then send the question to us to answer for the general public or viewers like yourself, or everyone actually, on Saturday mornings from 11 to 11:30. So. Thanks for tonight, fellas. Sorry I'm a little late. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I won't say the place, but it's funny. I mean, I've got good bandwidth, you know, only because I bring it with me. No, it's an old Irish saying that going. You know, I like bringing whiskey to the party, or you know, I do, but I like it bringing it in me. You know, it's in me. You know, so when I travel in Texas, some of these remote places where these oil wells are, and these other places, you know, yeah, I got to take the bandwidth with me. Otherwise, there's just no bandwidth. So I think it should last. It's a pretty decent connection, so hopefully it'll last tonight. If not, I'll do my best to pop right back on. So, you know, tonight's topic, we talked about this on Saturday. We've actually talked about it a little bit last week. You know, but you know, tonight's topic, you know, is you know, living in the abundance, you know, mindset, you know, and it's really easy to get caught up, you know, in this kind of environment, you know, and I have a very unique perspective about you know all the layoffs and people that are displaced, you know, and thank gosh nobody can throw anything at me here, but I actually think it's a good thing. You know, now we are quite fortunate here with Empower Network. We create our own jobs, and like I tell my children, you know, the best job you'll ever have is the one you create. You know, because chances are you'll probably like it more than any others. You know, but we'll get into that here in just a bit. But I have a lot of really good stories, and we actually may run this for a week or two, or 3 or 4, depending on how well we get feedback from a lot of viewers. You know, and we've been getting pinged about it as well. At the end of tonight, too, I'll give you an update on the iPas2. Chris, you know, Jones, you know, put out a good video on it, on an update on it, and you know, it's kind of funny. I mean, you can tell he's frustrated, you know, like the rest of us, you know, but you know, he's sticking to his guns, and he's not going to let it come out, you know, and it's kind of interesting because there's some more drama with Empower Network, and it's but I mean, it's not anything to do with Empower Network. I mean, I can take it back. It does have something to do with Empower Network, but it has to do with the opposite of what Chris Jones is trying to do with iPas2. You know, he has had so many delays because he's not going to put out some, you know, cheesy, you know, thing that doesn't work, but somebody else did, and we know those people, and so anyway, I can't talk about it on this hangout too much, but. We'll talk about it in the afterglow and discuss it on the other member hangouts. But anyway, again, thank you, viewers, for popping in tonight. And let's go ahead and get started. Sorry I'm late. I'm just getting set up here. As you can see in the background, I'm just here in my hotel room, you know, and there actually is hotels over in this area, you know. So, yeah. It's pretty funny. I didn't have to bring that with me. I thought I'd have to bring a tent and a cot, but no, didn't have to. So. Anyway, Mr. Smith, I'm going to go ahead and let you start. Again, tonight's the topics of living in the abundance mindset, and I tell you what, let me just say a couple things here real quick, and then I'll pass the torch to you, so to speak. One of the things that that I really like a lot about living in this economy is I'm a very optimistic person. It takes a lot to get me down, and I've been down before, and actually kind of recently, really, last 3 years, but I don't spend much time there. I just spend enough time to get sick and get the hell out of there, But you got to remember where you came from and what's going on around you, so you know where you're going. I tell people from time to time, it's kind of good to run into the devil, because otherwise you're probably going in the same direction, and so sometimes bad things, you learn from them obviously, and you go from there. But my perspective on this economy that we live in, and it's hard when when people that we're talking to about joining up with Team Certainty and Power Network, and I'm an advocate for not joining really unless you've got $1,000 to spend, because you need about 500 or 600 to start, and then and then spend the rest educating and building your business. It's just like any other business that you start. You have to have some sort of financial backing to get started with it. Same thing with school. You got to pay for your tuition and room and board to learn. It's the same thing. If you expect to make money, you're going to have to learn how to make that money. And invest into your business. Buy a lawnmower to cut lawns, or an airplane for an airline, or whatever it might be. The same thing with Empower Network. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money. Eventually. You can start slow and take it, a day at a time, and and blog, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you ever want to get into the big money and making full-time income, then you're going to have to spend a little bit. Even if it is just reinvesting everything that you make. But and while we're at it, we'll talk about the income. We're going to be talking about money tonight. So the income disclaimer is down below, as well as the buttons are to join tonight. And all you can spend is $25. Joining tonight, and your sponsor will get with you for the balance. That will level you get in. I recommend level 3 below. It'll put you in the best position to make the most amount of money on your efforts the fastest. So anyway, in closing on my little rant here, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Gary Smith. One of the things that I like about these economies that we live in now is that there's few countries that can survive an economy that we have, and the economy, to me, the economy is the marketplace. You talk about the Dow Jones and everything else. I think that's manipulative, very very much so, especially recently. But the actual economy that we live in, I don't believe that is. I believe it's we create the economy and we live in it. But when people get displaced, in the economy, I believe that's a good thing. Now, when you're living through it, and I have many friends that are going through it right now, it's not a pleasant thing. But this environment, world, or country that we live in, of America, is one of the few countries in the world that excels in this economy. In a down economy like this, it's driven by technology and displaced workers, which, due to technology, is going to be light years ahead of other economies around the world. I'll explain that in a minute. But when technology advances, and let's say you have a computer comes in and takes over a job, and the secretary gets displaced. Okay, the computer's now doing her job. That secretary is going to have to find work to do something else, start her own company, create a job, invent something, and maybe hire 10 people, or she might be one of the 10 people somebody else has to hire because of a new technology or a new business startup, but it's done by displaced workers in technology. And I have a good story about some of the stuff that I really subscribe to that I'll get into. We should have time to talk about it later. But in closing on my little section here, the displaced worker in an economy that we live in, I believe, is in a big advantage, to the overall economy. Now, if you're living through it, it's another story because it's very difficult. You got bills to pay, kids to put in college, and everything else. But there is a job, there is a workspace for you, and here in America, it's the easiest country to find it in. And whether you create it or you find it, the harder you're willing to go after it, the quicker it'll come to you. And people just have to understand that. Displaced worker due to technology advances is a huge benefit, for the economy and long term, because now that person is going to be adding more value and wealth to the economy. And I'll leave you with this thought, and I can expand on this in just a few minutes too. And Empower Network is a pretty good example of this, because some of the stuff they've done, is cutting edge. 100% commissions, 100% electronic delivery, and a few other things are cutting edge. And I'll leave you with this comment, that I believe in the next 20 years, you'll see more wealth developed in the next 20 years than you have in the previous 200 in America. That's how optimistic I am. These displaced workers is a huge thing. You got AT&T say they're laying off 18,000 people. Well, didn't they just lay off 24,000 other ones? Those people are going to have to find jobs, and they're going to have to create work. So this country 20 years from now, assuming nothing crazy happens, I'm very, very optimistic, extremely optimistic, and we're in a good spot here with the Power Network. Anyway, okay. I'm done, Mr. Gary Smith. It's all yours, buddy.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey, Richard, I didn't mean to poke you when you come in there. You was just late and everything. I had a little Georgia experience today with this lady. I'm telling you what, I mean, she is slow. But, on this subject, Jackie and I, my wife, we drove around this weekend, and along our freeway, we've got several KOAs and campgrounds and stuff like that most of the time, are pretty much ghost towns, but these things have filled up. And then there was one over in the next town to us that had just sit for years with nothing in it. And now this thing's just jam-packed with fifth wheels and stuff, and we drove through one for the first time. I've always kind of skirted them and everything. I was like, what is going on here? Is people just living in those, or what? Well, that's exactly what's happening. They've lost their home. They've filled up these camp spots and stuff, and I mean, gorgeous looking setup. This one's brand new. They put that in. I'm like, holy moly, have fun filling that baby up on a Saturday night, off the freeway or whatever traffic. Shit, there isn't a space left in that place. And and I imagine, in my travels and stuff, I saw these things everywhere. And so, this is just what happens when you get into such a robust deal, and then the bubble bursts, and unfortunately, a lot of what goes around in America revolves around the real estate and the jobs and houses and everything that creates, and then not so much the tech jobs and everything, but we're building this valley again. They're on a hell-bent pace to overbuild it and crash it down again. I've got to the point with my real estate stuff that I do not want to go through another real estate roller coaster. I've gone through my last one, as an investment standpoint. Had to take a spanking, before I'd get out of there, like normal. You got to stay in until you get a little spanking, and then you get out, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. and this stuff that we do now is so intriguing to me, and the abundance that can come from it, and the mindset. Unfortunately, when you're beat down, say you're living in the fifth wheel out at the KOA or whatever, and you're pretty beat down, and things are tough for you, you have the tendency to feel that everybody's that way. It's tough for everybody because it's tough for you. That's just the normal mindset of human. And unfortunately, fortunately, that is not the case. I mean, the money's flowing out there. I mean, we're doing some things with the monetary funds that have never been done before, and it appears to not be hurting us real bad at this point, and that just blows my mind. And I won't go into great detail about that because there's too much negative wrapped around that. And I tend to not, I'm kind of blind. I have a blind side to negativity, and I tend not to even see it if it's staring me in the face. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I just don't see negative, and I kind of like it that way. There's so many opportunities out there, folks. If a guy has the heart and the will to go and look for them and find them, opportunities pop up every single day for me, and some of them require no investment at all outside, monetary investment. Now there's time investment, and then that's the same with Empower Network. You're either going to come into our game, as I like to refer to it. I like it. It's kind of like that. That's what we do in our game of rodeo. I know Mike, he's out there in rodeo heaven, gonna go do some line dancing and stuff tonight.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Bucadaw's barn line dance on a Wednesday night with a bunch of oil workers. That sounds like a time, don't it?
Yeah, I'm not a big line dancer. Sorry. Yeah.
But I wish I was there, buddy. I'd see if I could convert you.
Yeah.
But anyway, and this is a really interesting fact to me, and we kind of started touching on this at the end of last Wednesday's hangout, and decided to devote this one to this subject too. There's one of the fastest growing religions in America is one that kind of lets you shine on wealth. Wealth is okay. In God's eyes, wealth is okay. It's not I just have to make enough to survive and barely get by. The old saying, 2 weeks or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. That's not so much of the case. You do not have to live that way. God will not frown on you if you're 6 weeks away, 6 paychecks away from homeless, or 10 or 12 or 20 or whatever the case may be. You don't have to feel that you're doing some evil if you're making a lot of money and your life as well when other people's aren't. My simple solution to feeling bad about that is tithing. You can tithe anywhere and help out anybody, and to me, you don't have to tithe through a church. You can help out. I like to help people directly. That is tithing too, and it gets directly to the source. It doesn't get all watered down before it gets to where it needs to be. That's the part that irks me so much, about a lot of those deals that you see on TV and everything. Will help this boy and everything. Well, so little of what you give gets to that boy. It's a sad deal, but there's lots of ways to make yourself feel good about that, and to where you can prosper and feel good. And here on our team, we have multiple sources of income. I believe in, never put all your eggs in one basket, because, that basket might fall off the pickup truck or something, So you want to keep a few other baskets on there too. But that's kind of my take on the whole thing.
Richard, you want to throw something in there? I got a couple comments I'd like to do, but you got anything to add there?
Yeah, I was going to say, you talk about money, and there is no shortage in the U.S. or worldwide, really. You know, I was reading a statistic today that the U.S. has the most millionaires, multimillionaires, about 183,000 of them, which is about 7 times of the #2 country is China for run-ups, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the great numbers that was in there today, the number of millionaires has grown about 58% over the past 10 years, and the number of multimillionaires has jumped by 71%.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You
So,
know, there's more money at the top. Yeah.
yeah, and they say that there's more than 7 billion people are millionaires now worldwide.
You know, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's like 2%. You know, I mean 0.2% of the population. You know, it's you know, it's not, you know, the 1% are always the 1%ers. You know what I mean? But you know, that was an interesting one that I was reading. I was pretty intrigued with it. You know, because you know, London was like #3, New York second, Hong Kong is #1. And but I'd anticipated Moscow being higher up, to be honest, and I guess that's what threw me a little bit in there. But there's plenty of money out there, folks, and it's just, you know, putting your hand out and dipping into the well, and you know, allowing an opportunity to take place. I mean, a lot of times we can interrupt our own opportunities rather than accept them, and then, you know, it may not be what you expected in the beginning, but you got to turn those lemons into lemonade one way or another. And then if you're like Gary, you can throw some vodka on it and have a party, right?
Like Gary.
Well, here's one comment that should put all. Go ahead, Gary. You got some?
On that subject, there was something that I heard just recently, that it doesn't matter what you're doing. And you'll like this, Richard. You know, it's not quote time, but we'll get this in there. We might do it twice here and at the end. It doesn't matter what you do, if you're running dry cleaners or a high-tech company. You are one decision a day away from success. All you have to do to be successful in anything that you do is one right decision a day. Period.
Now,
you know,
here's one.
Here's
one thing I want to jump in here and add, and this will dispel anybody's belief that, you know, there's not enough wealth out there to go around, or we're running out of wealth, or what. All wealth is a human invention. Wealth in itself is a human invention. All the technology, everything you see, from the laptop to this technology that we're talking on, is all developed by a human somewhere. You know. The amount of gold, the amount of, you know, coal, the amount of all the fixed, you know, ingredients, if you want to call them that, you know, here in the world, we were born here, they were still here, you know, and the amount is still the same. It's not changing. Everything, all wealth that's been developed in the entire world began and initiated and is wealth because of a human development. And that's why I'm saying technology moves so fast right now that the amount of technology, you know, that is being implemented into the marketplace right now to help us as humans develop more additional wealth is staggering, and it's because of the computer. And we're right at the very edge of this. It's going to explode like you never believed in the next 10 to 15 years. You know, and if you can anticipate, you know, some of the developments that are going to happen in the next 5 years, 3 years, 20 years, and look at what's going on right now. And I'll give you a little hint on a couple things. Do you know that in 1960, 5% of the meals were eaten in a home, in a home environment, were eaten outside the home? Do you know how many meals right now are eaten outside the home on an average home? Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Over 50%.
What do you think? Right at 50%. 50% of the meals that a family consumes are eaten outside of the home. Now that includes pizzas and Chinese food and all this other stuff. You know, but who would have thought of that? Yeah. You know, do you know how many restaurants have been developed since 1960? Over 1 million. that are still standing right now. 1 million new restaurants, you know, and you know, to me, numbers like that are just staggering. You know, when you consider how many restaurants had to fail, you know, to have 1 million still new restaurants since 1960 still in operation or operating today versus 1960. You know, but here I'll leave you with an interesting deal that I'm thinking of. I mean, I go about my day and I think about a lot of this stuff because I'm really bullish. Yeah, I'm very bullish. You know, on the economy. I think you know if you can position yourself and you got a good mindset, you know, and just thrust yourself forward every day, you know. And I know it's not easy, you know, but you know if you can stay with that mindset, you know, you're going to be doing unbelievably well, you know, in the next 2 or 3 years. But you got to stay focused, you know. And here's one thing that's different. That's happening, and if you can adapt, you know, businesses around things like this, and you know, and it hasn't actually come into the full bloom yet, but we're getting there. We're getting very close there. And one thing has changed since 1950, 60, 70, even 80. Really, it began in the 1980s, but it's pretty obvious now that it's you know, mainstream. And that's, you know, in our generation or my parents' generation, so to speak, you know, every household had one source of income. There was one income earner in that household, and that was it. But after World War II came, you know, in Vietnam, actually, for that matter, you know, and into the 70s, you know, and really especially into the 80s, it became evident that, you know, people wanted more. And so 2 household income became, you know, on the rise. And right now it's the standard. The standard is 2 household income. Now that you know that's the standard. No, you know, future marriages and people getting married, families being developed and everything else, you're going to have a dual income in the household. You know, and my question is this, how long is that going to last? Are you going to have a 3-income household, 4-income, 5-income household? I think you will. I think you're going to have residual income is going to be the third household income, and people are going to have to do something to earn residual income. They can be doing whatever else they're doing. They're two income streams, whatever it might be, you know. But there's going to be a third income, I believe, and that's going to be a residual income of some fashion or another. It might be a byproduct of one of the other 2 incomes. I don't know. But if you can understand, you know, and look at, you know, where we're headed with all of this, you know, especially here in the United States, and stay on the, you know, the front edge of all this stuff, you know, you're going to be making a lot of money, you know, in the years to come. So.
Here's a deal right in line with that, Mike.
That?
Here's a deal right in line with that. It kind of helps people get their head wrapped around this and where we're headed. Every major growth in America, way back when, started out with something that linked people together. Okay, first the telegraph, then the printing press, then the telephone. You know, and then the cell phone, then the internet, you know, and now with the technology thing taking place, I forget the analogy on that of how quickly it grows, but it's, you know, Richard probably knows that stat. It's quick. It's growing quickly because of the computers and how linked in we are to one another, and it's. Things are going to move very, very quickly here now, and that's going to be yet our next link. I think what's coming, you know, in the very near future, and I've said this before, is a supercomputer. And once we have that brain sitting on everybody's desk, whoa, you're going to see some things change. It'll be like having 1,000 computers in one. You know, it's going to be that smart. And then we're going to really do some jumping. You know, I just, you know, and I've always said this before, and two, and I just hope we don't outrun our brains and our common sense with that stuff. But the biggest secret here is not to think that deep into it. Get into it and get yourself going. Don't be one of those. I just refuse to buy a smartphone. I just will not. There's so many guys of my generation that still don't even own their first cell phone, and I'm just, man, how are you even functioning in this world? My brother has a printing company, and you drive around and deliver crap, and people drop off their orders and stuff, and like, I think he's got email and stuff hooked up there now, and the girls are running it for him. But if you're not taking orders via email and stuff, you are so far behind. I mean, you also got your donkey tied up out back too to go home. Good Lord.
Well, with people that are displaced and unemployed right now, I mean, it's difficult. It's a tough time for them, and and it's you got to feel for them, and also I'm not so much love for young people. I think is good. It's not good for old people, and and where I think a lot of people need breaks. One of the things I like thinking about is creating, what are the dreams of the people I'm sitting at the table with? Like just here on this hangout, what are your dreams, Gary? What are your dreams, Richard? And that's motivating to me. That's motivating to me. And if I can make your dreams come true, then I'll be one happy SOB. And so if I work hard, and further, my progress, in this economy with Empower Network or whatever I decide I want to do, and part of that, helps, fulfill some of your dreams, Richard, or Gary, then, that's stuff that makes me happy and keeps me going, and I think if more people thought in those type of, scenarios where, you're benefiting others, the harder you work, benefits others. Don't be so focused on getting rich, but be focused on, making other people, rich in their heart, and that'll get you further down the road, and that's what I like doing, and that's what keeps me motivated, and again, I'm very high. You can't already tell about the economy. I haven't been this high, probably in, 4 or 5 years. But some of the stuff I've seen in the last 6 months, and I've got, some of the stuff I do is pretty close, so I can see what's going on. Even when the government starts coming out with numbers that are positive, as much as they're hard to believe, there's a little bit of ring of truth to them. Because people aren't sitting on the couch anymore. They're tired of it. How long do you want to stay unemployed? How long do you want to, collect unemployment? It gets old after a while. And they got that American blood in them. So this is bullshit. The hell with it. And it's motivating to see this militia, all these militias getting organized, these states, militia. To me, that's motivating. Whatever happens, we don't know. But I was telling my wife the other day. I said, Vermont is a state that has, a lot of these. It's actually funny because I think Vermont, is a state that consumes the most alcohol per capita. Who would have thought that? And they're big freedom fighters. I think Vermont, it's one of these, Vermont, New Hampshire, one of these upside down states, down in Texas, that's what we call them. And anyway, if those guys ever want to succeed just like Northern California does, would we travel way back just like, Davy Crockett and all those guys did for Texas years ago? 100 years, 150 years ago, fight for Texas independence in 1936. I don't see why not. I guarantee you there's some Texans that'll do that. I guarantee you they will. But again, we all have our agendas. We all have our battles. We all have to fight. I constantly tell other people, don't do this. If you don't want to do it, don't do it for somebody else. Do it for yourself. Don't join Empower Network. Don't join Team Certainty because somebody says, this is something you should do. Do it for yourself, or do it because somebody says you won't make it, and just show them they're wrong. I'll tell you one last story about this, and this is something that happened to me in the last it's 2 years. I can't remember. I was in Europe somewhere, and I was walking, and I've always been fascinated with World War II, the European corridor, World War II. I don't know why, maybe past life, I don't know, what, but it's always fascinated me, World War II, primarily the European corridor, or exclusively the European corridor. I was walking somewhere in the middle of woods, and just thinking about a few things, some park somewhere in London or something. I don't know where it was. And I said, no, I know where it was. It was Hamburg, Germany, one of my favorite cities. And I was thinking, of all the American boys, young men, that never came back from Europe, they were killed. Just think of all the dreams that those young men had combined. I mean, all of them, the tens of thousands that died, in World War II, all of their dreams, everything that they desired in life, all their crazy dreams as a young person, combined in one ball and put that on your back. I was thinking about that, as I walked through this park in Hamburg, Germany, and my knees buckled. And because of the weight, and granted, it was just thinking. I'm sure if I'd have gone 10 feet under, but I think of what I do now, and for people that that still have dreams that can't do it. And the things that I do now in my life, for people that just weren't born with the intestinal fortitude or desire or drive. They think about it maybe, and they do dream about it, but they'll never do anything about it. And when they see a guy succeed, like me, that's I believe humble enough to represent that, that lights a fire in them, that they can do it, because I'll be the first one to encourage them or bring them along with me, But in this economy that we live in now, and the opportunity that's being presented to us, and it's Empower Network, and don't forget the buttons are below, But in this economy that we live in now, and the opportunities that are presented to us right now, you have to take advantage of them. And there's no shortage of wealth. It's an abundance of wealth, and it's a matter of how hard do you want it. Is basically what it all boils down to. Misery loves company. And there's a lot of doomers and gloomers out there, but you won't find them here. That's for sure. And that's the way I feel about it. There's the abundance lifestyle, and living in a state of abundance. I live in enough for probably 50 people. And I'm not shy to say that, or embarrassed to even talk about it. I'm proud of it. It hasn't been easy all the time. And I focus on it, and it helps me every day. I can assure you that. So I'm very, very, very much looking forward to it. Okay, look, you guys, I am sorry for picking the mic all night tonight, but Richard, you got any comments?
Oh,
anything? I know.
It all goes back to the same old thing, folks. I mean, if you buy into what the press says about the economy, say, hey, I'm only worried about one economy, my economy. Don't get caught up with what the news says, because there's always somebody flipping $1 at a news person or in a TV ad. Somebody's paying to try to get you to believe whatever kind of press they're selling. And believe in your own economy, make your own luck, and you know, that's one of the big things. And Gary will like this: make money the old-fashioned way, like my grandfather said, print it yourself. So, you know, find something that you can do that's almost like printing money yourself, you know. Empower Network, no inventory, it's like printing money yourself. So, you know, I think that's one of the things, and because I know we're getting near the top of the hour here, but I'll say one thing is, it's all in your head. It's not in somebody else's head, it's in your head. And if you believe you can, or you don't believe you can, you're right. You've already made the decision, and you're right. You're going to get your wish. So, you know, click your heels together, Dorothy, for something good tomorrow. And you know, because I always, you know, when I get up in the morning, first thing I say is, you know, I wonder what good news I'm going to get today. Because, you know, I'm anticipating something good. In some way, even though if you have a little rain that day, you got to look at it, you know, what's the upside of it? You know, W. Clement Stone, he was probably the one guy that I've read a lot of his work and like that, but that guy, no matter what happened, he'd find the good in anything. I mean, you know, if he got run over by a car, he'd say, well, you know, I was planning on getting my back adjusted by the chiro next week anyway. So, you know, he was pretty upbeat about it, but he said, you know, you always got to look at the better, look for the greater good in things. And, you know, I mean, but that's the one thing I can tell everybody out there is, you know, it's your mindset, it's your belief, and your belief in yourself, you know, because 98% of the people you meet, they aren't going to believe in you as much as you do yourself, and leave them to their own opinions, but keep your opinion of yourself great. Motivate yourself every day, because you got to be your own cheerleader in a lot of this society, because we get bombarded constantly with tons of negativity out here. So, you know, push yourself up every morning. Like I said, you know, I'm expecting the good news, you know, and it's coming.
Yeah, you know, or join Team Certainty and Empower Network by using the button below and hang out with us, you know, and listen to us every day.
Pick a button.
Yeah. Gary, you have any closing comments?
Hey, you know, you listen to the stories with a lot of leaders and successful ones in Empower Network, and it always is wrapped around some desperado story. Living in a van, you know, I was a drug abuse and alcoholic, you know, I mean, the stories just run rampant. Team Certainty, we don't so much buy into, you know, that. I mean, we've all been successful people in our lives and everything, and haven't really been beat down like, you know, some of these have been. I could go into some things, but then, you know, some of the stories I'd tell people would say, shit, that ain't nothing. You know, well, you couldn't buy that investment property, you poor bastard. But you know, the plus side about that is, and the fifth wheels and the KOA campground stuff, and if you get down to that point, a lot of times you will find ways and do things that you wouldn't have done if you were comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You know, life's all going good, so you're just going to ride that bandwagon, and you aren't going to dig down and find those other little golden nuggets that you will find now, because out of desperation or whatever the case may be. And that is kind of the silver lining in this. And when you come to our events and everything, you see all these people that are so electrified, because this is an opportunity that would never have been available to them otherwise, had our leaders not developed this out of a desperado state. Dave Wood locked himself in a room for 3 months, sequestered himself, and laid all them hundreds of thousands and thousands of pages of content out there. And that's what launched him to the level he is just a massive load of content in an animal that we call this animal beast in the game that we play on the internet, you know. And nothing excites me more. And I've done a lot of deals before, and big deals, but nothing excites me more than creating money on this machine out of nowhere. I mean, that, folks, once you get a taste of that, God help you, you know, you're going to be hooked, because it is just fun. It is just fun to come here and make this thing generate money. You know, pretty much, I love Dave Wood's deal, and I've said that to people, and I've kind of had their nose stuck in the air over it. We create money out of thin air. We're creating money out of thin air that doesn't even exist, you know, and we're creating our own niches and things here, and that's kind of what Empower Network's all about, is wrapping that, whatever you do, around Empower Network will quadruple your results. And once you get that figured out in your head of how to link these things and do this stuff that we do, you'll understand what I'm saying, and we'll help you with every step of the way of that stuff. You're never going to be left out there floundering and wondering what to do. The most difficult thing that I've witnessed in this over and over and over again is people could be right next to their big breakthrough. They've put in all the work, they've put in all the hard effort, they've paid their dues, you know, waiting for their big stream to come in, and they pull out. It's like, good Lord, I had one down there in Austin, Texas, just broke my heart. I mean, this gal would have lit this thing up, but she had a husband that was a little negative on it. And, you know, that husband thing, I tell you what, drives me nuts.
Families, don't be too hard on the family part of it. I mean, that's just, you got to see through it. Family comes first.
I understand.
And it's a great example, Gary. I'll just jump in here real quick and just say, that's a great example of the dream aspect. If she's working for his dreams versus he trying to shutter her dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way of doing it. There's a right way of doing it. And the way to do it is to be successful as quickly as possible. And it doesn't happen overnight, especially with other things going on. But we'll have time to talk about that in another. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead and finish up, and I'll talk about the iPas here.
You're fine. I'm kind of wrapping up anyway, and that was a good jump in. But it's just, when are you going to make your decision and get on it and go? Do you have to be beat down more before you get to the point of making that decision? Never again will I let this happen. And that's kind of what I'm involved in right now. Is never again will I let one deal that goes down kind of rock the whole boat. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to let that happen again. This is it, and I'm doing something about it, and I'm not going to back off until it's under control.
Well, just like I say, when opportunity presents itself, like it's doing tonight with Empower Network Team Certainty, you have to take advantage of it. Again, that's what the buttons are for below. And all you can spend is $25 tonight. There's an income statement down below as well you need to read as prospective new members that are viewing us right now that may want to join. You need to read that and then take advantage of the opportunity. It's just that simple. Let me throw some things in here real quickly as we close up about the iPas2. Chris Jones put out another quick email about the iPas2 system, and they're getting closer and closer. And it was kind of, you could see he was pretty frustrated, in his voice, as we all are, but he knows he's doing the right thing, and we all like Chris, and we're glad we're part of this iPas2 thing, because it's going to be well worth it, the wait, and the sooner the better. There'll probably still be changes after everything launched, but it'll be a lot better situation than not. So we're just looking forward to it. The sooner the better. If I had to put a date on it, I'd say after Labor Day now. Right around Labor Day. Maybe middle of September, something like that. We'll know about it, in advance. But I could tell he was frustrated on the video, trying to keep upbeat. And he was upbeat, but he's anxious to get it going, but knows that these things take time, and you're better safe than sorry, and that's what he's doing. So, okay, it's top of the hour, and really thank you, viewers, for watching us tonight, and thank you, Mr. Gary Smith, Mr. Iron Dane Richards as well. We'll be back here Saturday morning, 11 to 11:30, and that's a questions and answer period, and that's what the button is on the side. The support button here is on the side of the broadcast page, viewers you're watching now, and just click that tab. A box will open up, type in a question about Empower Network, Team Certainty, or any one of us team leaders. We'd be more than happy, support will be more than happy to get it answered and sent back to you, and then maybe we'll get it on Saturday morning to answer live on the show Saturday morning as well. We're always looking for new members here, new team visionaries. There's a lot of room up here at the top, and prospective new members. You want to do these hangouts, join us on these hangouts. Just use the buttons below, sign up, get started, become a producer. And lean on your sponsor. Hopefully it'll be me or Gary or Mr. Iron Dane Richards, and we'll help you along the way. That's what we're here for. And team, we're not interested in being the biggest team in Empower Network. We're only interested in the team where all members make money, and we'll show you how to do that. But it's all determined on your best efforts, and with our trainings and so forth, it'll give you a great place to get started, and especially I'm telling you with our mindset, living in an economy that like this, I think is a blessing, but you have to recognize it as a blessing and take advantage of it, and that's what we do. We make money with Empower Network products as well as making money outside of the Empower Network in many other ventures that are in our back office of Team Certainty. We utilize the Empower Network products though to do this. And that's the tie-in. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Iron Dane Richards. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'll see you guys Saturday morning. Enjoy your Wednesday evening there where you guys are, and thank you, viewers, again for joining us tonight. And we'll be back Saturday morning. We'll see you then. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.